Based on Friedkin and Keeney's book, the media obstructs women's representation by providing less coverage compared to men, focusing on female candidates' personalities over issue coverage, and highlighting their communal and motherly traits rather than agentic. The lower amounts of coverage that women receive contributes to the lack of representation in politics. In their study, Friedkin and Keeney expected male senators to receive more coverage because journalists and editors who are likely to hold gender stereotypes about proper male and female roles are likely to consider male senators to be more authoritative because they are more likely to exemplify the leadership prototype. This is supported by a study conducted by Kahn and Goldberg, which found that race coverage and candidate coverage both had less paragraphs published in the news per day for women, even when controlling for newspaper size and levels of competitiveness. While this difference is small, the importance is that it persists despite heavy experimental control. Less paragraphs published per day for races that include women or female candidates reduces women's representation in politics because it does not normalize the presence of female candidates. The media's attention toward a woman's personality traits rather than her policy issue lends to gender stereotypes, which lowers accurate representation. Friedkin and Keeney expected the media to focus on female candidates' personality traits, which was supported by their findings that male senators receive more substantive coverage while female senators receive more coverage of personality traits. Female senators are more likely to be discussed in terms of their personality rather than male senators. This is also supported by Atkinson and Krebs, who found that the presence of a woman on the ballot alter coverage of candidates' personality traits and increase overall coverage of non-policy family and appearance coverage. The media has a bias towards covering women based on things which do not pertain to her campaign content. Female candidates tend to have personality traits discussed more than male counterparts. Reduces women's representation in politics because it strengthens people's stereotypes that female candidates are less competent on political issues. Relating to the previous topic, female candidates are often described as communal rather than agentic in the media and portrayed as mothers, not leaders. In their study, Friedkin and Keeney found that U.S. senators, and especially female senators, preferred to discuss how they embody agentic traits. However, news reports of these senators focus more on their possession of communal traits. Even though female senators assert themselves as having agentic, male-related traits, the media still portrays them as having communal, female-related traits, which makes them appear less leader-like. Stereotypically, women are seen as wives and mothers first before anything. This leads the media to focus on their softer traits, even if the candidate does not emphasize them. This stereotype is supported in a study on the media's coverage of women, which found that in dominantly female-focused articles, a reference to the candidate's children occurred in 13.3% of the articles, compared to 4.2% of the dominantly male-focused articles. And with regard to the candidate's marital status, 25% of the articles focusing on female candidates made this notion, whereas 12% of the articles focusing on male candidates made note of their marital status. While being seen as communal is not particularly harmful, the reference of a candidate to her husband and children can be. Women are often seen as wives and mothers before anything. If the media concentrates on this, the public will continue to doubt women as leaders, providing that motherly figures are not generally associated with politics. Women asked about children and marriage more than male counterparts. Relating women to soft traits and their motherly/wifely duties further drives people's ideas that women are not leaders first. Although the media has been harmful to female politicians' viability in the past, some changes could serve to increase women's representation. The media could increase women's representation in politics by changing what people associate being a politician with and changing what people associate being a woman with. The first way the media could serve as a powerful tool is by giving female candidates equal amounts of coverage. As seen in the study concerning Elizabeth Dole's campaign, she did not receive an amount of coverage consistent with her standing in the polls. If the media had provided more coverage for her, women and men at home watching would understand her as an important candidate. Additionally, people are more likely to remember a female candidate, so increased coverage would serve to further normalize women in politics. If people saw women covered by the media more often, it could change the idea of what a politician is and therefore increase representation. It is crucial that this coverage is the right kind, however. The media could also increase female representation by portraying women in a way that does not perpetuate gender stereotypes. In order to change the way people see female candidates, the media would have to cover their agentic traits more than communal traits. Women are already seen as over-emotional and sensitive, not consistent with traits related to politicians. And if the media could portray women based on their agentic traits rather than communal, people would start to see politics as a man and woman's job. Not to say that there should not be a place for communal traits. Women can be seen as possessing both, which is not a bad thing. But accurate coverage could show that women are leaders as well. This would further normalize the idea of female candidates and increase representation. This also ties into the media's tendency to cover a woman based on traits not related to issue coverage. The discussion of women based on their marital status and children only further drives the stereotype of women as wives and mothers first. If the media concentrated on a woman's campaign contents rather than secondary traits, people would change their ideas of what women and politicians can be. If I were the media campaign manager for a woman running for office, the first rule I would give her would be to remain composed in all addresses to the press. Overall, I think one of the biggest cruxes for women running for office is that people do not believe in a woman's ability to lead. Women receive praise for their political skills and positions on issues but continue to be held back by doubts that the country is ready for them to lead. Women are often seen as softer than men and therefore less qualified for office. I think it is important for female candidates to be careful with how they display emotions to the media. My second rule to my candidate would be to play into her communal traits. Given that gender role theory contends that people hold both descriptive and prescriptive norms regarding the appropriate behavior for men and women, I think that showing a caring and warm side would be beneficial for women running. It is true that women who behave in authoritative ways risk being disliked as insufferable prima donnas, pediatric school marms, or witchy women. So my candidate should remain composed while also revealing a warmer, caring side of herself. After all, there is nothing wrong with being seen as a caring person. My last rule for my candidate would be to address agentic issues more often. According to Friedkin and Keeney, women are often seen as competent in communal issues, healthcare, education, and conservation, and less competent in agentic traits, economic, defense, and foreign policy. I would want my candidate to be well-versed on a variety of issues, not just female issues. Since the Republican Party often aligns with agentic issues, it would help to bolster her reputation outside of the Democratic Party. I would not want her to completely abandon communal issues, but to diversify the points she usually brings up. There are many barriers for female candidates in politics. This is clear through the vast underrepresentation of women in the political world. Friedkin and Keeney assess the portrayal of women in media as one of these barriers. Based on their findings, I put forth that the media disadvantages women by providing less coverage, displaying their personalities over other qualities, and not picking up their agentic traits. If the media worked towards changing the idea of what a politician represents and what a woman represents, it could serve as a very important tool for increasing representation. Lastly, my 3 rules I would give my female candidate would be to remain composed while also showing a warm side and to highlight her stance on agentic traits more often.